My name is Bruce Reyes-Chow, and this is BRC and Friends. Each episode, my co-host and I chat with activists, artists, academics, and adventurers to discuss politics, faith, pop culture, technology, and as you will discover, pretty much everything that pops into our heads. This is basically an excuse for us to hang out with friends and colleagues and riff about things that matter. Welcome to BRC and Friends. Well, I'm going to miss that intro music. As you can tell by the title of this episode, episode 70. This will be the final episode of what we have known together for almost a decade now of BRC and Friends. It began, almost 10 years ago, if not a little more, as a vodcast on YouTube when I interviewed politicians and writers. My very first person to ever interview was Grace Jusen Kim, who we've been together on each other's podcast since then a couple of times. But it is time to put this one to bed, as they say. And I'm transitioning as I move into some new vocational journeys next. We'll move this over to Substack and my newsletter there called The Amalgamation. So this will now be the Amalgamation Podcast with Bruce Reyes-Chow. I don't know what it's really going to look like. I'm going to actually bring on a producer. We're going to rethink the format a little bit, the content, all of those kind of things. I don't imagine it's going to be greatly different because I have a lot of interests and a lot of opinions about a lot of things. And so I do want to continue to create depth and texture to the things that we do and the things that we love. So it's not going to be, I don't think it's not going to be just a podcast on X. I'm a terrible person to brand, or it's on this or on that, but it'll be a variety of things. So I suspect that'll still be consistent. But the BRC and Friends kind of world is now coming to an end. And it's actually, okay. I feel like it's had a good run. It's been filled with fits and starts. For those of you that have hung out with me in a variety of places, I'm so grateful for you and your support as I've tried to figure out this podcasting thing. Everything from how do we even do it, from script writing to all the technology that goes into it, to all of the administration and the pieces that often kind of mess podcasters up, right? We can record and just fine, but it's the editing and posting and sharing and all that gets a little more difficult. So I'm grateful for those of you that have stuck with me through this, but as you will soon hear, if you are subscribed to the Amalgamation on Substack, I'm entering a new vocational space where I'm going to really be a full-time writer and speaker and podcaster. I've never really done that before. I've always had kind of a side thing, and I've loved bringing a variety of things together. But sometimes that creates a situation where you don't have to dive into any one thing particularly deeply, or you can rely on your instincts and don't really have to work on a craft. So I'm going to be, over the next few years, trying to work on my craft of writing. I'll still be doing the podcast because I just love this kind of format. Substack lets me do both video and audio. So we're going to play around with what Substack can do with the podcast. But I'm going to write and I'm going to speak. I'm not looking at churches anymore. I'm not going to be dancing with any of those full-time ministry things. But I'm really going to kind of see what's in store for me next in a more focused way. So I'm pretty excited about that. Super grateful that I can do that, because I think everybody should have an opportunity to dive into new things, especially as, folks enter the last third of their life, as I am doing, to be able to live these last days, it feels a little dramatic, but live this season without all of the burdens that come when you're just starting out. So that's what I'm doing. I'm grateful that my wife is able to get healthcare. So healthcare for everyone, please, people, come on. So I'm going to continue. So I'm going to just dive into new things. So, again, this is the last episode. I want to thank everybody specifically. I would love to thank Marissa Magdal-Laron, who wrote and edited the intro and outro music, which we'll hear in a minute. I want to thank what we did this last year and a half or so was to bring on co-hosts, people that I just loved who are funny and smart and just beautiful souls. So Laura Mariko Heifetz and Jorge Bautista and Amy Kim Parks and Mickey Scott Bay Jones for all of their love and patience with what I'm trying to do. It has been so fun to hang out with you all. They're probably going to be back in some form, but this next format is just going to be me probably talking most of the time with someone or people. I don't know what we're going to do. Again, don't know what we're going to do. If you have any ideas about what would work for you, no guarantees I'm going to do them, but I would love to hear. So feel free to drop them in the comments. If you already subscribe to the podcast, you're listening to it, so you probably do. It's not going to change. All of those things will just stay the same. So all the old episodes will be there. But we're going to start off with episode number 1 in the fall sometime, as soon as I figure out what this is going to look like and kind of figure out what time is. So again, thank you all so much. Please go back and listen to episodes. There's some wonderful authors and people and all kind of folks that are doing some good things in the world. And so go back and listen. Either on the podcast or you can go to my YouTube channel and see the early stages, which is kind of fun to watch because the production value, not good, but it was still quite fun to do. So again, thank you all for everything that you have done. And this brings to the end of this podcast adventure called BRC and Friends.
BRC and Friends was hosted and produced by Bruce Reyes-Chow. Co-hosts were Jorge Bautista, Mickey Scott Bay Jones, Amy Kim Parks, and Laura Mariko Heifetz, and the theme music was composed and recorded by Marissa Magdal Laurent. Please head over to Patreon and toss us a few bucks, and feel free to connect with any of us via the show notes. And lastly, please don't make me beg. Take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to BRC and Friends wherever you listen to podcasts. Until the next episode, thanks for listening to BRC and Friends.